Well, as News 15 investigates tonight, some have referred to Louisiana as the world's prison capital. Louisiana has had the highest incarceration rates in the world over the past decade. Recently, I visited the Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola. It's the largest maximum security prison in the United States. And I talked with inmates at Angola to see what can be done to lower incarceration rates. Behind Bars is a story you'll only see right here on News 15. According to prisonpolicy.org, out of every 100,000 people in Louisiana, 1,094 are locked up. Now, nearly 4,000 of those live inside the barbed wire at Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola in West Feliciana Parish. Jared Longclaw entered Angola at the age of 18, where he's lived for the past 27 years. He's spending a life sentence without the possibility of parole for second-degree murder. Now, the Eunice native remembers what it was like when he first entered the gates of this notorious prison.
By the time we actually got into the prison part, it was night, it was dark. I heard stories of the place, so I didn't know what to expect. I heard about, it being violent. I didn't know anybody. So to me, coming in, it was like walking into a foreign land.
Longclaw's had plenty of time to reflect on the actions that gave him a life sentence behind bars. And he says his life of crime started at a young age.
It all started with little things, or I would at least look at it as little things, like maybe stealing or things like that. And then slowly they would escalate. And I think the transition, I wouldn't see myself as, I felt like the things I was doing weren't that bad because I was seeing other people doing worse things. So I'd be like, well, it's not that bad, they doing worse. And that kind of, in my own mind, would justify what I would be doing.
Justin Singleton grew up outside of Eunice and has spent the last 20 years of his life inside the walls of Angola. He was incarcerated for principal to second-degree murder, and he says his decision-making at a young age was also not good.
Just kind of started making some bad decisions early on, using and drinking, things of that nature, hanging out with the wrong crowd, and it just kind of progressed. I wasn't necessarily raised that way, but, your parents only raise you half the time. School and your peers raise you the other half.
Despite incarceration numbers still high across Louisiana, the prison populations are starting to slowly trend down. Now, this is in part to a number of bills that have passed with strong bipartisan majorities, which have also followed recommendations of the Louisiana Justice Reinvestment Task Force.
A majority of people here have life sentences, and we're starting to see a lot of those offenders have the opportunity to get clemencies and parole hearings and opportunities to go home. So we're trying to get those inmates where they can go home and function in society.
3 days after this interview with Singleton was conducted, he was released from Angola. Walking into the unknown is something he says has been on his mind a whole lot lately.
20 years ago, when I came to prison, man, it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And ironically, I'm finding that leaving prison is the hardest thing I've ever had to do because I don't really know what I'm walking into. I've been going 20 years, and a lot has changed just since COVID, yet alone 2 decades. And so I try to prepare myself by saying, hey, look, I need to be conscious that what I'm doing now today may not necessarily be normal where I'm going, because I want to make sure that I'm not free, but still living like I'm in prison.
Now, when it comes to lowering the extremely high incarceration rate statewide, the inmates that we talked to here at the Louisiana State Penitentiary in Angola say the key is getting to the youth early and stressing education.
I think that if we focus more on early education, then we won't have to spend as much time and resources on later incarceration.
Or try to lead them in a good direction, and all they've known is negative, and to them that's normal. And I think that's probably common now, and that's part of the problem.
Elisa Gautreaux is the chief felony prosecutor in St. Landry Parish. She says the number of violent crimes committed by youth that they are seeing is concerning.
We have a couple of juveniles right now that are facing adult crimes of homicide, and that's a new thing. It's new. It's strange to me, really. And I'm talking the last 5 years. New. It's strange. And we just did not see that kind of thing before. I don't. It's like everything is sort of on steroids. It's just a blow up.